Good evening, everyone. So it's been a while since I've posted any videos in general, let alone something regarding wrestling. But for those of us that are wrestling fans, with everything that's going on, this is kind of a unique time because the two main companies have decided in their own way to try and continue to give us entertainment, even though many places are shut down. But they've gone about it in an extremely different way. The company that everyone knows, WWE, formerly the WWF, that's been around for many years, uh, through various ways, has gotten themselves considered an essential business in the state of Florida, where they have a training facility and some other facilities that they can use to film. What that means is that they can continue to film live shows, um, as well as, for all intents and purposes, ask their workers to come in as they are as an essential business without really giving them the option um, either way. They have decided that since they obviously can't have an audience, that they are putting on empty arena shows. Still big matches. They still have the announcing, but the audience is just not there. So you are dealing with an empty arena. You still have the set. You'll still have the entrances. Sometimes you'll still have pyros, but you won't have those people there. And in many cases, it's essentially being filmed from a building that is the size of an aircraft carrier. Um, so that's one way of doing it. Me personally, I can't watch their product like that. Part of what makes something like wrestling or even sports so interesting is the crowd response. When you watch a match and you hear people cheer for one person or against somebody, it's an amazing feeling. When there's a big spot or a big move and the crowd goes crazy, it's an amazing feeling. Um, and without that, it's like watching backyard wrestling or watching two little boys, in their parents' kitchen pretend they're wrestling and doing a wrestling promo. It's hard to watch. Now, the other company, AEW, went a different route. When all this started and businesses started to be shut down, the owner and the leaders of that company told their workers that none of them were required to be there if they didn't want to. What they were going to do was take a couple of days and record and film between 4 to 8 weeks of material that they could use to put on shows for about 2 months so that their wrestlers could go home and stay safe and be with their families. And many talents and many wrestlers and cameramen and whomever did take them up on that offer. They did decide not to come in. None of them were punished. And they managed to put on shows with the talent they had available in a very unique way. The first being that, if they had extra time, that they used enhancement talent. And for those of you who don't know what enhancement talent is, it's local talent that is not under contract by the company. It's like using independent stars, up and coming stars. It's like, some of my fellow actor friends being extras in movies. They can forever see themselves walking by on that sidewalk or in the background during a scene. And you can say, hey, look, there I was before I got famous. And that's kind of what that is. But in this case, AEW is using that enhancement talent in a more mainstream role and giving them the opportunity for those that are local within the state they're filming in, that it isn't that difficult for them to travel to come in and perform and make a little money for their families while all of this is going on. In addition to that, they have not only done that, but they've taken their crew, which the owner of the company stated was about 29% capacity. So, of all the people they have, only about 29% of them still showed up to work these tapings. That includes not only wrestlers, but cameraman, audio people, pyrotechnics people, producers, people that edit the show together. Every single person that you need to put on a live show, a lot of them weren't there. So a lot of these people were pulling multiple duties. So even the people that were pulling multiple duties were actually stationed on either side of the ring as audience members, of course, within the limits and the restrictions of what's going on. So they may have only had 10 people total around ringside separated, but those 10 people, even though they were wrestlers or other personalities who may have been directly involved with the story that was going on, were either cheering or booing that particular person, and it kept it interesting. As well as the fact that you can use that talent to continue storylines connected to the match that's going on. So it was a very fluid act, and it was almost like it was still a live show. And it really worked very well. What I think also helped was a lot of the wrestlers who weren't there and a lot of the talent who wasn't there took the opportunity to record vignettes or promos or things from their local homes. These weren't sets, they weren't fake, these were the legitimate, real life homes of the talent. And they allowed themselves to be recorded and to be used, sometimes to show their families on the recording if they had pets. They were very open to it, and it just made it very real. Um, a lot of the talent they have has other things that they may do as well as wrestling. Obviously, the most notable is Chris Jericho, who many people know has a rock band called Fozzy, who is a very popular band, and AEW allows him to do both. Well, another talent that does other things is a female wrestler called Britt Baker. Not only is she a wrestler, but she's also a practicing dentist. And because she was one of the talents who wanted to show up and wanted to work, they did promos and vignettes in what I believe, as far as I know, was her actual real life practice in her office. Because I assume she's not as busy as she could be with what's going on. And I find that fascinating. So for me, I definitely am more impressed by the product that AEW is putting on. It's just a better product overall. Um, and I think they're doing it a lot better. I think the owner is a lot more open and a lot more supportive of his talent because you don't know what people's lives are like. You don't know if they're at higher risk, if their family is at higher risk, or they have friends that are at higher risk. You don't know. And you've got to be supportive because when all this stops, you want that talent to come back and go, wow, that person really supported me. They really, love me as a worker. I'm going to go back. As soon as I'm able to, I'm going back and I'm working for them and I'm telling all my friends to come work for them. Happy employees makes a good product. And that's my opinion on the state of wrestling today. May 11th, 2020, 10:32 p.m.